If you're anything like me, networking is not your number one thing to do. And not that you hate it so much, but you just feel awkward, weird, and you really need some good help when it comes to networking. Because networking in medical billing is extremely important. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the places, the benefits, and tips for good networking in medical billing. Keep watching. Welcome or welcome back. We are on part 2 of learning from my mistakes, and today's video is going to be on networking. So if you don't know what networking is, it is the process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional and social contact. Now, that is the key thing to engage in information and to develop professional and social contacts. For me, I know when I started to network, it was very awkward. I felt weird, especially if I went by myself. I felt alone. I didn't know how to start up conversations, and I kept saying, I'm not going back. But I know that I need to network because it would help me in so many ways, and we're gonna talk about that today. If I didn't mention, my name is Tamika Duncan. I am a certified professional biller and a certified professional practice manager. So we're gonna jump into the places that you can go to network. The first place, of course, is social media. Now, we all or most of us have social media, whether that is Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever. I know there's so much more and they keep coming up with more, but we all have some form of social media and we can use this to our advantage. For me, I know that social media started to become like a place where some people don't really want to be, but you can use it to your advantage, especially in Facebook, because that's the place that I usually go. But in other social media sites, you can join forums and groups that talk specifically about medical billing. Now, it could be about a specific specialty, or it can just be about medical billing in general. So that is one good place that you can go, where you can just comment on people's posts. You can read, even if you don't comment, you can read people's posts, you know, see what their answers are, go in the comments, see what their answers are to questions. But I would recommend commenting on posts as well. That's a way to engage and meet people. You might find somebody on there that you can actually DM and you start to talk back and forth, and that's a good way of building your professional contacts. Now, we also have webinars. So of course nowadays everything is on Zoom or, you know, Teams or something, and we can connect that way. So we don't have to physically be in the same location in order to connect with different people. When we go on webinars, like I have been on several webinars through, let's say, AAPC and other organizations that put on webinars for medical billing, and you start to recognize people's name and you can talk to them, you talk in the comments, and you start to build a relationship and a networking there with those people. Then we also have talking with other billers. So if you are already a biller, and even if you're not, you might know some billers in your local area, in your doctor's offices, in the pharmacist, in the hospital. You can just talk to them, network with them. I know when I initially started out in 2006, I was kind of in a little box. You know, I just did the billing for the ophthalmologist that I was working for, and I was in this little box. But if I knew better, I would go and communicate with the other doctors' offices, people who do the billing there, because I was in a medical complex that had several doctors in it. So I could have gone to different offices, called up billers, and just talk. We could have connected, gone to lunch, talk about our experiences, and I could have learned so much more. You have your local conferences. You know, sometimes the payers do local conferences. In the Virgin Islands, we used to have payers come. Cigna, United Healthcare, Blue Cross, Medicaid used to come and put on conferences about billing, and of course they would have other billers, doctors, healthcare professionals, office managers, all type of people would be there. So that's a good place to also network. Then there's the billing associations. So I'm a part of 2 billing associations right at the moment. I probably will join more, but AAPC and American Medical Billing Association are the 2 associations that I'm a part of. And in those associations, you know, you have like special parts of their website where you guys can, the people who are members can actually talk and communicate, and again, you can build your contacts that way. We also will have chapter meetings, and so with, let's say, AAPC, you usually have a chapter meeting in your area. Unfortunately, where I live in the Virgin Islands, we don't have chapter meetings here because we don't have a local chapter, because we're a small rural area. But I have joined Puerto Rico's chapters, you know, Bahamas chapters, different chapters, and I can also communicate with those people in those chapters. So I would recommend you trying one of these things when you want to start to network in medical billing. Let me talk about the benefits, because there are benefits to networking. It may be uncomfortable like at first, like I said, and some of you may not have been uncomfortable. It may have just been me, but I don't think it was, because networking can be a little scary. It can be a little weird, especially if you're going by yourself and you don't know anyone there. So the first benefit is that you learn about job opportunities. So if you're someone who is maybe just finished taking a course and you're looking for a job, or maybe you're even in between jobs, maybe you had a job and you got laid off or something happened, you can go to these different places, mingle with people, let them know your experience, let them know where you went to school, talk to them, and they may know about job opportunities that you don't know about. I know, unfortunately, there are a lot of times that I see, especially on like these Facebook forums, a lot of people are looking for jobs, and I think they may have to go out there and get out more. We don't know about everything. We may think we do, but we don't. So you might be looking for a job, let's say on Indeed or, you know, somewhere else, and there are people who are out there who know about jobs, who know about local jobs maybe, that you can actually get. So I would say one of the main and most important benefits is that you learn about job opportunities. Then you can have people to help you with issues. Again, when I first started off, I was trying to figure out all the things by myself. So if you heard my story before, I learned in 2 weeks. Basically, I did take a course a while back, but I learned in 2 weeks when the person who was leaving the billing trained me. And of course I had questions. Now, she wasn't there to answer the questions anymore because she actually left the job, but I had questions. And if I only knew that I could talk to other people, that I can network. Now, back in 2006, Facebook wasn't too much of a thing, I don't think. Instagram and all that stuff wasn't too much of a thing. But if I had been more outspoken and, you know, connected with other billers at other offices, when I'm at the local conferences, I talk to people, talk about the questions that I have, the things that, you know, are going wrong, I probably would have gotten help quicker than I thought I would. So remember, when you network with others, you learn about stuff, especially if you're like in one specific area in billing. Maybe you just do the payment posting, or maybe you're just in a specific specialty and you only know about ophthalmology. You know, you might want to expand and learn about OBGYN or other places or other specialties. So I would recommend to network in order to speak to other people or other billers for your issues. Then you have billing growth, which kind of falls into that, because the more you speak to people, the more you learn. Now, I had only thought that AAPC was the only place that you can do your certifications, get your courses and all that stuff at the beginning. But as I started to speak to more and more people, they started to tell me about, oh, there's, you know, American Medical Billing Association, and there's University, and there's this and that. And so I got to speak to other people, because they might not have even known about AAPC. So I might have said, well, I got my certification through AAPC, and they say, well, I got my certification through this. And so you learn and you grow as billers. Then you're able to also expand your professional reach. And what I mean by that is, if I speak to someone on a webinar who is in California, I'm in the US Virgin Islands, they're in California. We talk, we start to become friends, we exchange, email addresses, and then they say, we talk about, I need a job, or I'm thinking about relocating or moving. Now I know someone in another area, and they can help me in that other area where I may not have had the means to do so because I may not have known anyone, and they can help me maneuver in that area. So they might say, well, I know about a remote position in California and they're looking for such and such, and you have those qualifications, maybe you need to apply. I would have never found that out because I'm in the Virgin Islands and they're in California. And a really, really, really good one is to build relationships, lifelong relationships. So of course we're talking about billing and it's about your profession, but it's also about building those relationships. So being able to be friends with, to be acquaintances to people who are like-minded, who are interested in billing like you, is a very supportive relationship. Really helps you in the long run. You sometimes, as a biller, like I said earlier I didn't have other billers. I didn't know of other billers, so I kind of felt alone. I kind of felt like, do people really understand what I'm going through? But there are people who understand. There are so many billers out there, but we have to network with each other in order to find that out. And if I knew this earlier, I would have done it way, way earlier instead of trying to do everything on my own and just work through everything on my own. So I consider myself an introverted extrovert when it comes to networking, meaning I'm an extrovert at heart. I can talk to people, I usually feel comfortable speaking my mind and communicating. But when it came to networking, it was like I was just closed off and just to myself. I didn't feel comfortable. So let me give you some tips that I use for myself in order to have a good networking experience. And so my first tip is to please just be yourself. You play an important part in this world and you're needed. So don't try to be anyone else. Just be yourself. And what I really mean by that is, don't try to make up stories, which is one of my next tips, is to be honest. Don't make up stories about how you got into the field, about what you know, about where you want to go. Just tell the truth and use your own story. So be yourself and be honest. It will make for the best networking. You'll realize that there are a lot of people like you, that you have things in common, and you don't need to be anyone else. You don't need to try and act like you're bigger or you know more than you actually know, because then you are doing yourself a disservice if you do that. Work on your active listening when you are in these networking areas, and so they'll be able to help you to respond in the proper way. In general, I think a lot of us don't actively listen. We tend to hear someone or be speaking with someone and just waiting to answer, to respond back, like we're not really actively listening. But in order to have a good networking experience, you have to actively listen. So if I just meet you and you start to talk about, how you started out in billing and where you want to go and what specialties you know and all of those things, I need to actively listen so that I can then talk to you. I can keep the conversation going. Also, you were in OBGYN, so am I, and this is what we do here. We do ultrasounds and we do circumcisions and we do such and such. Do you do those things? And it keeps it going and it keeps the conversation flowing. If I'm not really listening to what you're saying and I'm trying to just respond, it's gonna make it harder to have a good conversation with you, and it's probably going to be cut short, or the person is going to feel like you're not really listening anyway, so they're going to try and go on to someone else, and then you can actually see if you really want to build the relationship with the person that you just met, and that if it's going to be beneficial for the both of you. Then we're going to make sure that we set a goal for each networking experience that we have. So if we decide to go to a local event, one of our goals could be, I'm going to go home with 2 new contacts. Or if you're on a webinar, you might say, well, I'll make sure I comment to 2 people's question, or I will ask a question to the host. Like something. You want to make sure that you have a goal set for yourself. Otherwise, you're just going to be going to these meetings or these webinars and you're not really going to be connecting with anyone. You're probably going to stay in the background, not make any comments, not try and meet new people. But if you set a goal for yourself, I bet you can reach it. It's just the point of setting a goal. So let's say you say it's a 3-hour meeting. You say, I want to have 2 new contacts when I leave here, and we're already on the 2nd hour and you have not spoken to anyone. Then you're gonna probably be like, okay, let me get it together. Let me go over there and talk to this young lady who I've seen been standing here for a while. Hi, my name is Tamika. How are you? You know, how did you decide to come to this meeting? Start up a conversation, because now you know you have a goal of getting 2 contacts within this last hour, because it's only 3 hours. So that's a goal that you can set. You can set many different goals, and the goals will depend on you and what you want to accomplish. But make sure you set a goal, because most likely you'll be leaving there the same way you came, and that's with no contacts, no new information, no new social relationships that you can build. That goes into keep going to these networking meetings or these webinars or these, you know, areas. Keep doing it. So if you went to a doctor's office or you called another doctor's office and asked to speak to the biller and you got, you know, the cold shoulder or something, don't stop doing it. If you went to a local networking conference and you only got 1 contact when you wanted to have 2, keep going. We all know the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. And you have to continuously do it. You don't want to do it in January and then do it in December, because it's gonna make it harder for you to get comfortable quicker. But the more you do it and the more you put yourself out there, you will get better at it. And then, not all networking spaces are for you. If it's not for you, if you've tried it a couple of times and it's not for you, then you can try other things, but don't let it stop you from networking at all. So I hope these were beneficial for you. Remember to network, 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 because it will help you grow